I hope the recording is started.
Yeah, you're good to go, Gaurav.
Great. Thank you, Cecily. Okay, great. Greetings, everyone. This is Gaurav speaking from Bangalore, India, and I'm being joined by my colleagues also on this garage session for today, for the July month. And in today's garage, we would be primarily talking about this use case where I think most of you have heard about SAP Joule for consultants. But we have also gotten requests from many partners and customers that they want to extend the capabilities for Joule for consultants. And in today's mission, we would be talking exactly on that same topic where I'm being joined by the experts who are the minds and hands behind this use case. I am being joined by Hartmut Straub, who is from the AI rig team from Germany, and he and his team are left, right, and center with the customer implementation projects and all. I'm also being joined by Hsuan, and she's also from the product management team, who are the driving force behind the capabilities that you see out there. As I said, I'm being joined by also Cecily, who is also the global host for our SAP BTP Garage behind the scenes. And obviously, the garage, what is today, is not would have not been possible without your support. So thank you so much for your trust, for your support, and your motivation. Because of this, we are able to sustain the series for such a long time. So please keep that support coming in. Also, let us know what topics would you want to see going forward. From the last episodes, we have your requests and we are working on bringing on those topics onto the garage as well. So really happy to see your support over the years, months. So keep that coming in. As I said, in today's use case, we will be primarily talking about extending or enhancing SAP Joule for consultants with the custom knowledge grounding technique by which you can bring in more capabilities specifically tailored to your businesses. Yeah. And as I said, Hartmut would be our expert who would be walking us through this use case. The recording would be uploaded to YouTube, so please feel free to access those recordings later in time. We would also do a repeat of the same session for Americas and Europe friendly time zones. So if you or your colleagues want to revisit the session live, please ask them to tune in later point in time today as well. So with that, I would hand over to Hartmut for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the intro. Yeah, let me quickly share my screen to start this session. So, can you see my screen now?
Yep, we can.
All right. Is it maybe a bit too small? Let's increase it a bit. All right. I want to start with setting the picture. Joule Consultants has introduced a couple of customization options lately, and here's a good blog to give an overview about these new features. So we have several possibilities now to really introduce your own knowledge. So the first one is the file upload. So you have this here in the message bar. You have this icon where you can add attachments. So this is really thought for the user level, single conversation. So you add the document right into the conversation. This is how it goes. You can know that from other chatbots maybe. And so it's stored and deleted just like the conversation itself. So it's deleted after 7 days, for example. And here you also can see the data type. So that's one way. We have a file upload in the app directly. The second way is really the expert workspace we also introduced recently. So that's a more persistent way to introduce your knowledge. So you have you create an expert, you create it could be here the example is SAP implementation assistant. So you create an expert specifically for one area, and you give it a description, some custom instructions, use. And most importantly, or at least in the context of our session today, is here the attachment part. So you can add documents here as well. So this is still on the user level or slash expert level. So you as a user can configure an expert. So how it's done is detailed on the SAP help. And then this is a permanent solution. You can call this expert if you want to investigate, if you want to investigate, for example, implementation. So this is how the expert works. And here the third option, and this is the one we are focusing now on today, is really the custom knowledge grounding. So this is really enterprise scale and admin managed. So it's really different to the others on the tenant level, on the instance level. So documents you upload there are available to all the users in your company. Or, well, that being said, we do actually introduce a user level control with J4C. So that's another feature that will be available. But this is really the upload of the documents is done on a tenant level. So at the beginning, at least, it's definitely available to all of them, and it's done with admin. So that these would be documents that are relevant for more than just a single user, right? If you have groups of users that need those documents, or if you have, if it's even relevant for the whole company. So this is the use case for custom knowledge ground, a very important one. It was really a very high requested feature. And here we can see, some data repositories we connect to, and how it's stored. So it's actually stored in AI Core. We're using AI Core document grounding as a technology. We can see that here in the diagram. So we have two consultants sitting here. We have the standard, the basic knowledge. So everything, so it will, for J4C, it has some public sources, it has some gated sources such as KBAs and subnodes. So this is, in the application in J4C by default. But what we add now with this feature here is really the customization. So you can add your own documents, and they are ingested in the exact same way as they are with the standard knowledge here. All right, so that's the big picture. Just a quick note. So the Discovery Center has a mirror in a blog, which has more or less the same content. So if you prefer the blog format, you can also go there. But let's start with the Discovery Center mission. So we have this overview page here. Here we see the diagram for how J4C works in general. So what are the components we have on IIS? Well, we have a BTP setup, and we have the user interaction. So that's the introductory slide here. But we want to have a look at how it's really set up. So the content of the Discovery Center mission. So let's have a quick look at the big picture here. So what are we gonna do in this session here? So we will look at different parts here. So first we have an introduction part with an overview and some recommendations. So we have different components involved, and here I give some recommendations how you should set them up. We will look into these tiles in detail. The next part is really how to set up a data repository. So that's one of the components. What we also will see is, the next step will be AI Core document grounding. So these are the big parts. So, and more or less, what we see here in the second and third column is just regular AI Core document grounding. So there's nothing specific to Joule for consultants. So this, what you can see here, is really applies for any AI Core document grounding. And the last part here is the connecting to J4C. So we have create a destination service, and this is how we link to the AI Core document grounding instance. And we have additionally, we have to do some admin console configuration. And if we have done all that, we can test it directly in the application. So this is how it looks like. I will do a mix of showing it in the Discovery Center mission and showing it live in the system, how it would be set up in your BTP account or in your Bruno or AI Launchpad, things like that. So you will see as we go. All right, let's start with the introduction part. So we have this overview here. This picture we have seen already in blog in a similar form. So we have the two parts here. We have the standard knowledge, right? So with all the content sources included, publicly available ones or not publicly available ones, such as KBAs and subnodes. But the new addition here is really this upper part. So we have two systems here. We start first with the data repository. We have to set up a data repository. Here we have listed two common ones, definitely. So SharePoint, WorkZone, but we support others. So AWS Free, for example, is supported. That's a big one actually in this Discovery Center mission. We will use an object store, which uses actually the AWS S3 interface. But there are other repositories. We will see a full list later. So that's the first part. We start by creating a data repository. You can imagine a place where you put your documents. It could be a SharePoint. You have a folder in a SharePoint and you put documents there. And you have to maybe do some additional setup to enable it for document crowding. So that's the first part, the data repository setup. The second part is really to ingest it into AI core document crowding. So we pull the documents from the data repository and they will be ingested into a so-called pipeline. So they will be, the technology behind this is a so-called vector database. More or less, you pull the documents, you split them in chunks, and you do a so-called embedding. So you make it a vector, which is a sequence of numbers, and this enables you to search for similar documents. So that's the vector database, and the technology in general is called retrieval augmented generation. So the retrieval part is really where we use this vector database technology. The vector base is used for fetching similar documents to your query. So this is how it works technically. And so we have done the data repository setup. We have done the AI core setup. So at the end, we have a function in pipeline. We have a bring pipeline where we can see all the documents ingested and things like that. And the last part is really the connection to Joule for Consultants, where we have this link via the destination service. So that's the big picture here. Here in the introduction page, some prerequisites. You obviously need a Joule for Consultants instance. There's an onboarding guide for that. We need AI core with the extended plan. So this part is mandatory. And not if you follow the recommended setup, you also would need an object store. So we advise you to do, unless you have done it document grounding with other systems already, we advise you to do object store as a quick and easy solution, and then you can work on the other solutions later. So you can spin up the object store super fast and then maybe work on the SharePoint connection later. So that's our recommended path here. All right. Then here we can see the pricing. So you will, wait a moment, I will have to shrink a bit. All right. So we will see, the pricing here. The costs are linked here. The components that are needed. So the AI core, the object store, like I said, is not strictly mandatory, but here is the pricing information. What's also optional is the AI Launchpad. We will see two possibilities to actually hook up the AI core document grounding, and the AI Launchpad is if you prefer the UI over some API path. So the API path is done with the application Bruno. There are other applications you could use theoretically, but this is how it's described in this mission here. And yeah, so what this mission covers. So here are the parts we already have seen in the picture. So we will see the setup of the data repository. That's actually the most tricky part. So there we have a lot of different systems, often third-party systems, and that can be a bit advanced. So sometimes it does require a bit more work. And the other parts is really the AI core document grounding setup. So we will see how to do that in the API. And the last part here, the connection to Joule for consultants, and then we test it in the application. So this is what is described in the Discovery Center mission. So we can mark this step as complete. Usually, I would just go next card. So yeah, that's the usual flow with Discovery Center mission. The next one here is still in the introduction column is recommendations. So we have different customers have different systems set up already, maybe. And depending on this, you can go to different parts of the Discovery Center mission. So one case could be you already have a AI core document grounding pipeline set up. You can reuse that. So, and then you have to go directly to the J4C connection. If you have already a data repository set up, that's also good. You can just continue with the AI core document grounding. If neither of it applies, we recommend to go with this at least initially with the object store as a quick and easy setup. You can work on setting up other data repositories parallelly, no problem. But the object store is really very easy to set up, and you can see it working already. So that's the very advantage of the object store. Here we describe further why we recommend that. So it's fast activation, very low cost. So it pales compared to how much you pay for J4C itself, and it's reversible. If you have done the setup for other data repository, you can disable it, remove it, and then it's done. You just move the documents to the new data repository, and that's it. You can disable the object store instance, and it's done. So that's the recommendation with the object store if none of the other cases apply. So here we have kind of this decision tree on where to go into the Discovery Center mission. And the last part here is really what to do with maybe existing instances. So a common one could be that a customer already has an AI core instance. So with maybe a good deal for the BTP credits, so you can reuse that. And also there are other components. So here are some recommendations where to put them. So you can reuse them, existing instances. The destination service, I have some recommendation where to put it, and the object store as well. So here are the recommendation of the setup. Since we have 4 systems more or less, object store or any data repositories, we have AI core, destination service, and Joule for consultants, and they could theoretically sit in in different sub accounts or in the same sub account. So it's really a flexible layout. The connection is done with service key, but yeah. So 4 components, and here I give some advice where to put them. So in your pipeline. All right. Okay. So usually you would now also go with the next card again, just to give you the big picture again. So we now have covered the introduction parts. So we have overview and recommendations, right? And now we're continuing with the data repository part. So this column, so we can see an overview tile, which is also, for example, here we have this also as an overview. So that's the introduction tile, and then the concrete implementation follows after. Here we have actually optional tiles, so you do one of those. Or, well, you could do multiple. Like I said, you can do object store and parallelly SharePoint. So that's completely doable. And so this is the setup here generally. Here in this introduction slide, a short summary what we do in this phase here. So we're in the phase data repositories now. Here we have what other data repositories are available. So as mentioned, we are using as a technology the AI core document grounding, and this is actually the data repository that are supported with AI core document grounding. Theoretically, you could set them up for only 3 of them. The list is here, and the ones we've seen in the tiles in the Discovery Center mission. We have in detailed instructions. For the others, we point to the sub-help. So, but yeah, I guess these are the most common ones. AWS S3 is also covered intrinsically. So these are the common ones are covered by our instruction. But if you have, want to do ServiceNow, for example, you have to rely on the sub-help. But yeah, that's a regular sub-help. It's just as viable as our instructions here. All right, so that's the data repository part. Just to show how quickly we can set it up with the object store, I will create an object store instance here. So we have object store, and we need a name. Let me pull that quickly. So we will create a demo. So all the steps I do here are also covered in the Discovery Center mission. So we'll create a new instance here. I already have one. So this is where I set it up already. Just for demo purpose, I will create a new one. So usually we actually have already a JFC object store here. But let's create a new one just to demo how easy it is actually to set up object store as a data repository. So it already finished. And second step is creating a service key. So we go into this menu, and then we click create a service key. We enter a name and create the service key. And so within minutes, you can set up object store as a data repository. So that's a super quick solution here. It already finished. And here you can either download it. So there's a download option or a view credentials option where you can see the details. Yeah, so these details will be relevant later. So we have an access key and things like that. They will be entered in one of the later steps. So they will come up at some later point. So this is one of the information we will need in some later step. What is also will be covered in a later step is how to set up an AI course instance. This is already done here. Sorry, we have some noise here, background noise. If you could mute yourself. So what is already set up is here AI core. I did that with a booster. So you can go in the global account, choose the booster and set up the AI core. And here we do similar things. So we also create a service key for later use, and we will see that in this step I already have mentioned. So we now created in this current step, we created a data repository. We're in the data repository part, and we created a service key for the connection to the other components. All right, let's go back to the object store or the Discovery Center mission. So we are done now with this part. Like I mentioned, there are instructions for other data repositories, so SharePoint, but WorkZone. We have done this part here now. So if you look into the Discovery Center mission, it describes similar steps. Well, some additional ones. For example, here we check the entitlements, So we check the entitlements in the Clover account. We assign the entitlement to the sub account. This is what it's done here. We also need to enable Cloud Foundry, but this is all described here in these additional instruction. And we need to assign some roles here. So that's the Cloud Foundry part. And if we have done that, these steps were done in my sub account already, so I couldn't demo them easily. And if we have done that, we can create the object store instance. This is what I've demoed in the BTP here. So we do what I've shown in the live demo. So here we can see this as a picture. We create first the object store instance, and as a second step, we create the service key. So this is what we have seen live. And then we download the service key for later use. As last part here, described in the Discovery Center mission, you should upload directly a document to the object store. So we have some test documents which only pull from, so if we have some test queries and some test documents, and then you can test the whole thing end to end, and we will ensure that we only target this document. So that's a good way to verify the whole thing is working. All right, so this is how it's done. So more or less, there's an AWS CLI, and you can copy files to a bucket and then list it afterwards. So here is a listing how it works. I won't go into too much detail. So that's the general idea how it works with the setup of the object store. And similarly, it's done with SharePoint. SharePoint is a bit more extended. So these instructions cover more topics. So we have some Microsoft Entra setup and things like that. And down here, we also have a troubleshooting section. So a data repository, like mentioned, is often a bit more tricky. In the case of the object store, it's super easy, but the others can be a bit more tricky, such as SharePoint. So that's why we recommend to first start with the object store for an easy setup, and then you can parallelly set up another data repository. All right. Okay, we covered introduction data repositories. Now we want to set up AI core document grounding. Here we also have object store overview, an overview page. So we will have a description what is covered in this phase here now. So we will create an object store instance, kind of similar to what we have seen live with the object store, but yeah, done with a booster, but some of the steps are similar. For example, we create also a service key. Then we do the connection to the data repository with Bruno. I will show that in a live session. Alternatively, it could be done with an AI Launchpad, which comes with some costs. So this is why as the first option, describe Bruno here. But if you want to have a UI-driven setup, AI Launchpad is an option. And yeah, like I said, it's a fully alternative path to Bruno. And here, the last tile in the overview is really the support tile. So this is what we see here. So we have the document grounding overview. We create this AI core instance. We have the setup with Bruno, we have the setup with AI Launchpad, and here we have the support tile. So this is what this phase covers. Here again, we have some information about pricing. We list the data repositories again, and what to do if it's not one of the main supported ones. So there is some information from the AI core document grounding team, and this is where you can go if you want to set up some of the data repositories that are listed here, but not covered by the more in detail instructions, then you have information here available. So what we do cover in more detail is really 3 data repositories, the more common ones. So I think at least 90% are probably covered with these. So we have AWS3. That's also what we are using for the object store. So object store is an AWS3 system out of the box in the as a BTP service. So we covered this here. So we have configuration files for an application we will use for the setups. So it's Bruno is the application, and here we have some configuration file specific, so-called collection. So we have a file you can download. Here we list what you need to actually continue with this step. So we already have them. We have seen this in when we created the object store, right? So we have seen all the values here. So they are in the service key and the credentials we have seen earlier. So we are good to go here. And yeah, here we have the same thing applies for the other data repository SharePoint. We have a collection you can download. Here are the parameters you need. So you Microsoft Entra credentials, SharePoint site, and the same thing is true for the work zone. We have a collection and some parameters, some values you need before you can continue here. All right. Then also a list of test documents. So they are really some documents specifically to test the document grounding. And they are just made up documents. So it's just to try this end to end. Here we have the document itself. It's really some nonsensical text actually, but this is to ensure that we only target this document, and specifically this document to reliable test it end to end. And here we can also see the test prompt. So these are included in the documents directly. All right. So that's how the phase AI core document grounding. So I will show this part, AI core document grounding in live as a live demo again. All right. So we have here the Bruno. So I did already download the collection. We can see it here. So AI Core DGS3, so that's how it was called in the Discovery Center mission. And this is how it looks like. So I've already included all the values. So we have an environment here in Bruno. So you have can choose an environment. You can click configure here, and then you get this screen here. And here I filled out all the values we need already. So we have the AI core part. So these first 4 values we get from the AI core service key, and we have the S3 part. Slash object store part. So this is what we get from the service key of the object store. So we get the service keys, we fill out the values here, and then we're good to go. So this is the first part. Set the environment variables here. And then we can connect to the AI core instance. So we first get a token. How it works, you open the specific request here. So we have a get token post request here. And if we click send, we get a valid token for this session. So that's the first step. And then here we go down the other steps. Next one is that we create a resource group. I already did that step before the session. So here you see how it would look like if you click send. You will be greeted with this response here. So some additional details about it. It will take the whole creation of the resource group will take a couple of minutes, 3 minutes maybe. And you can control how the progress of the creation is by clicking the next request here, get resource group, and click send again. So here we can see already the finished state. It would first say provisioning, and after a while, like I said, something like 3 minutes, we get provisions. So we get the end state. The next part is creating a generic secret. Here, I also did that before just to have it available for the pipeline. So that's actually an instant execution. You just click on this request, you click send, everything is filled automatically, and then get this message here. So the secret has been created. So that's the second part. So we have a token resource group, and we created a generic secret. And the last part is really creating a pipeline. I did this post step before, so this is also taking some time. So it takes also maybe 3 minutes here. So we get a pipeline ID when we click send here, and then we can check the status similar to what we did with the resource group. We click send here, and initially it would be new, and eventually in progress, and or in the immediate it would show in progress, and eventually it finishes. So this is the finished stage here. So we have the pipeline set up already. We can check that we have documents in it. So we did upload it before, right? We saw that how we did it with the AWS CLI. And here we can check that we actually see the documents. So it says index, that's the important part. And we can see the documents listed here. Here we have a last request, which is restart pipeline. You can use that if you upload new documents to resync the pipeline. So that's a quick way of adding new documents. All right, so that's super easy part. The whole thing is, yeah, you fill out the parameters initially, and you click through the different requests, and it can be done in maybe 50 minutes. So it's a super easy setup with the collection we have prepared, and we have it the collection for each of the data repositories we support in detail. All right. Okay. So what I also will show live how it would look like in a Launchpad. I will go a bit more quickly over this part and just show the things that are similar to what we have seen in the Bruno collection. So here we have the Launchpad. I have it here in the same BTP account. I started it now, and first thing we have to do is select the resource group correctly. Here the setup is all completed. So you can also do the whole steps we have seen in the Bruno collection also in the AI Launchpad. So here, for example, you would create a resource group. There's a create button. Can create a generic secret here. If we actually choose the demo resource group, we can see that the generic secret that was created by me. So here you can add other ones. So the same steps we have seen in Bruno, creation of the resource group, creation of the secret, generic secret are also listed here. And the last part, creating of a pipeline, is done here in the grounding management. So here we see the pipeline that is available with the same ID here. And this is how it looks in the UI, and that's pretty neat actually. So if you have the A Launchpad, that's a neat way to look at. So we have seen the same information in Bruno, but here that's maybe a bit nicer to look at and to run it. So here, for example, you have the resync. So we have seen the restart pipeline in Bruno, and if you do the synchronize here, that's the same thing. So it would re-ingest the documents and make new documents available. But here we can see the document that is included in the pipeline. We can see the chunking. So I've explained how retrieval augmented generation works with the vector database and the chunking. So we split up the documents into chunks and do the embedding. And yeah, so this is how it looks like in the AI Launchpad. It's described in more detail in the Discovery Center mission. So I will just cover it quickly. The same part. So we have looked at this one. We explained it quickly how to do the AI Core instance, and we have seen in detail the live version of the Bruno setup. And here you can see the same thing with the Launchpad. Just to have a quick overview. So here it's really the same step we have seen in the live version are described in the Discovery Center mission. So here we how to import the collection, how to choose the environment. So initially it looked like this with the placeholder. I did fill them already before the session. Then we do the token, we create the resource group and the generic secret. And most of the steps are just you pick the right request, click send. 1 and 2, right? So this is how it works. You have to look until it's provisioned. And here we create the generic secret. That was the last part. And that here we have pipeline creation with some additional information. For example, if you want to do a folders in the data in the repositories. So this here it's described how to do that. All right. Okay. So that's it for now. We're with the AI core document crowning. So we covered the first 3 columns now, the first 3 phases: introduction, data repository setup, and AI core document crowning. And the last part to do is really the connection to J4C, J4 consultants. So we have 2 parts here. So we have a destination service as a linking between those 2 systems, the AI core document crowning and J4 consultants. And we have to do some admin console configuration just to look into how it looks in the Discovery Center mission. We have here the configuration of the destination service. We created in a similar fashion how we created the object store. So we create this instance here, and we create a service key. So more or less the same steps we did for the object store here for the destination service. And then we go into the instance itself for the destination service dash. There are actually BTP destinations, but we want to configure them on the instance level. And this is how you get into the instance. We have to do some graded destination itself. So here are the instructions for this. So, and here, yeah, the overview, how it would look like with the details. And eventually we have a fully working credential destination we can even test here. So that we do a first initial test with the destination we just created. All right. So then in the next card, we then will see how it how we enable it in the admin console. That was the last remaining step. So we have a admin console in J4C. And here we configure the link to the AI core instance. So we enable custom knowledge grounding first, and then we connect to the destination service we just set up. So we get the service key JSON. So we download it similarly to what we have seen with the object store, and then we can do a easy connection. So here in the UI, you have to do a couple of steps. So you paste in the JSON, you click next, and first you're in the settings, you click connect, you paste in the JSON, and then you click on next to really enable the connection here. You choose the destination you have set up before, and you click save, and the finished product then it could look like this. So in the console, you would see a screen like that where you have the resource group listed and also the pipelines listed. And here's some additional information about how it works, some troubleshooting information. All right. And the last part is really how to test it in application. I will do that in a live version. Here are the instruction in the Discovery Center mission: create a new conversation, ask your question. Here we specifically target one of the test documents we downloaded earlier, and then we can see the result. We can see the customer documents linked in the sources. But we can show that in the application directly. So here, this is how it looks like in the console. So we have the settings part. So we have the custom knowledge grounding enabled. We have the sources and pipeline tab here with the resource group or the destination here actually we have set up earlier. And here we have some pipelines that are included in this destination/resource group. Each destination is pointing to specifically one resource group. So this is how it works. So we have the resource group in AI Core, and we set up the destination to point to one of these resource group. And here we have listed a destination pointing to one specific resource group. And it includes several pipelines here actually with different data sources. So we have a work zone, for example, we have a S3 system, which is the object store, and we have a SharePoint system, all set up in a single resource group/destination. All right, so this is how it looks like in the admin console, and now we can test it live. So we have different. We can directly target our test documents. So here, this is the one of the test question directly from the test document, the PDF we downloaded. And then we do how we interact with J4C regularly. We will get the answer, and then once it's finished, we can see in the sources tab that we actually are pulling from the systems we have set up. So this is we have set up the data repository, we have set up AI Core, and the whole thing is working end to end. So in the sources tab, we only see the single documents. So this is intended. So we want to test it end to end reliably. And this is why we have this made up documents here. We can also ask more, real questions with real document. Here is one example I've executed before. So explain how to set up document crowding with OAuth credentials flow. And here we have actually more sources, and we still see some of the standard knowledge. We have SAP help, we have SAP community, we have SAP learning, different sources that are in the standard knowledge of J4C, but we now also have the customer documents, and they live side by side, so they're treated a similar way. So these new documents are just like any other document in some other data repository. And here we have, for some of the data repositories, we have a thorough connection. So here we can even click with SharePoint, for example, we can click directly to the documents, and then we jump to it. If you have the access, so you would need access to the SharePoint, obviously. But this is how it works for SharePoint here. So we have a direct connection. You can click on the document. That wouldn't work for Object Store since we can't jump into the Object Store. But so this is how you set it up for other repositories. And here, for example, is the linked SharePoint. You could upload documents, new documents, do the resynchronization we have seen in the Bruno collection or AI Launchpad, and then they would be available to you for your requests here in J4C. All right, 4 minutes over what I had intended, but this is how to set up the J4 custom knowledge grounding with J4 consultants, and the content of the Discover Center mission. So we have seen all the parts. We have the introduction. We have setup of the data repository. We have AI Core document grounding. We connect it to J4C, and then we test it in the end to end. All right. So that's it from my side. Handing over to you for the Q&A.
Thanks, Hartmut, for that end-to-end walkthrough for the mission and the demo. And I believe the questions that the participants had, Hsuan has already been answering all the questions. Thank you so much, doing the job in the background. So at least I don't see any open questions in the chat, but participants feel free to unmute also and ask your questions or use the chat to post your questions. Just a short disclaimer, starting the mission is free of cost. Accessing the content is also free of cost, but you need to have the systems such as AI Core, J4C in your tenants, in your sub accounts to realize the whole use case that Hartmut just now, showed to you. So that is one thing. So yeah, over to you, participants. If you have any questions, feel free. Going once, twice, and thrice. Great. So
Yep.
if
So just one question, sorry. So we are on a clean code journey. So I was just thinking that how we can use J4C on our clean code journey.
Yeah. So yeah, for the setup of Joule consultants, here in the overview page, we have linked the setup guide. So we have an onboarding guide. We have a sub help page, but we also have a Discover Center mission that explains it. The sub help page is the concise version of the setup guide. So here we have the listed the different steps we need for the setup. Setting up J4C is actually a pretty easy setup. So it can be done, yeah, maybe in 1 hour or something. And unless if you don't get any hiccups, sometimes there are some hiccups, but it can be done very quickly. Unlike some other system, for example, Joule S4 is very complicated. But yeah, here you have the instruction for the J4C onboarding, and we also have a Discover Center mission that covers it in a similar way. So it's called Enable SAP Joule Consultants. So you can follow either resources, either the sub-help for more concise version, or the Discover Center mission, where you have this similarly covered it with some pictures describing the individual steps. So these are the possibilities.
If I may come in quickly, yes, we have these two resources that I also just paste in the chat in onboarding resource groups. They have this activation guide video, 5 minutes, go through all the steps mentioned here in text. So in case you would like videos, I paste that in the chat.
Cool, thank you.
That's a good addition, actually.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Hi, this is Basha. I have a question. So let's say that this Joule for consultant gives details based on the standard functionality, and assume that we have extended the standard functionality. And if that is the case, using this mission, we will be able to add in whatever customization that we have done, and the SAP Joule for consultant will get the details for our customization show, right?
Yeah, so you have a Joule for consultants instance, a live instance already, and yeah, the standard knowledge would be included already. And then how it would work, you would set up this custom knowledge grounding, and then you have linked it to a data repository, and whichever document you put there will be available in J4C. So this is how it works. You decide which documents do you want to include to our J4C instance. You put it into your data repositories, and then they will be available just like any other document in the standard knowledge of J4C. So this is how it works. Decide on which documents you want to include. Put it into the data repository. So here we have a SharePoint, resync the pipeline, and then it will be available in J4C. So that's how it generally works. And yeah, does that cover the question? I wasn't exactly sure.
Maybe no, Straub. Maybe I will go in specific. Let's take, for example, it's related to the purchase order. If I just query something, Joule for consultant will go to the standard feature and give me the reply. Now I have customized some of the portion for the purchase order. Now, if I query in right, my expectation is right. The Joule for consultant should go and check the standard repository as well as my repository to know what is the customization that I have done, merge both the things together and respond. Is that be achieved by means of this Joule, whatever we have gone through today?
Yeah, that is covered. So we have seen an example actually here. So here we have the different data sources from different parts. So we have the standard J4C knowledge base, right? So these first 5 links, and the 3 others are our documents, customer documents, it says here, right? And so they are combined. So we have one combined answers pulling from all of from the system. We have the standard knowledge as well as the customer document knowledge. So all of these are included, and they all merged in one answer.
Thanks, Rob. That answered my question. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Okay. If not, thank you so much, Hartmut and Hsuan, for your time and presenting the session and the use case to our partners and customers out there. Also to our attendees, thank you so much for taking out time and joining the session. As mentioned, the recording will be uploaded to our Garage YouTube playlist. Take some time to, upload it over there. So please revisit that. I see one more question in the round. So yeah, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself. Oh.
I think it was an accidental raised hand.
Okay.
Maybe for a reaction, yeah.
For a reaction. Okay. No worries. In that case, thank you so much. And we will be doing a repeat session as mentioned for the Americas and the European friendly time zone. So feel free to share with your colleagues as well. And thank you so much and see you in the next episode for SAP Garage. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good session.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.